All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this webinar Wednesday. We get to learn and improve from sea audits presented by our Jonathan Brooker. I've been privy to this presentation and I know just how jam-packed it is. And I look forward to having Jonathan share all that information and insights with you as well. So Jonathan Brooker is an aquatic coordinator for the Town of Oakville, bringing over 20 years of experience to municipal aquatics. Along with his aquatic team, Oakville has earned the David W. Preddy Cup for 6 consecutive years, recognizing one of the largest and most successful life-saving programs in its category. Jonathan is also a highly experienced sea auditor and aquatic safety inspector, having completed over 120 staff audits and contributed to comprehensive safety accreditations across multiple municipalities and organizations in Southern Ontario over the past decade. He has further supported the industry as an area chair with the Life Saving Society, volunteering his time for 9 years. Outside of his professional work, Jonathan is just as connected to the water, spending his free time windsurfing and hydrofoiling on the Great Lakes. Please join me in welcoming Jonathan Brooker. Take it away.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Nico, and welcome everyone to Learning and Improving from Sea Audits. I'm going to share my experiences traveling across Southern Ontario as a sea auditor, where I visited facilities and audited lifeguard staff at the request of those facilities in a secret shopper capacity, unknown to the lifeguard staff. I'd like to start things off by explaining exactly what you'll get out of this presentation. Firstly, I hope that you'll understand exactly how a sea audit is practically conducted, from preparation to the on-site execution, and then the final report. What we're going to do here is review the findings from over 100 sea audits of staff, and I'll show you the most common safety compliance gaps across those facilities that I discovered. Thirdly, I will hope to help you build improvement plans for your facility that optimize existing resources, and strengthen your staff trainings, and reduce the operational risk at your facility. And finally, you'll learn how to set up a sea audit at your facility. So what does sea even mean? That was actually my first question when I signed up for the Sea Auditor course. The Supervision Evaluation and Enhancement Auditor course is designed to give individuals the knowledge, training, and tools required to evaluate the effectiveness of lifeguard and instructor safety supervision using Life Saving Society sea checklists. So basically, as a sea auditor, you observe the safety supervision of the lifeguards and instructors. This presentation is solely focused on the lifeguards. Secondly, you evaluate those lifeguards with the tools from Life Saving Society, such as checklists. And then finally, you use those results to enhance the safety supervision of those guards by improving staff training. And you can see here that the Sea Auditor certification, it is on the rise. I have omitted the years 2020 and 2021 from this chart. You can see in 2019, we had 148 people getting certified as a Sea Auditor. Back in 2024, most recent stats there were up to 282. So people are adopting this, and this is why we're talking about it. It's an extremely effective tool for you to have at your facility. Now, this is not a Sea Auditor course, but I do want to briefly explain the evaluation system for those in the audience that are not sea auditors. So for the pool lifeguard sea system, it's a 2-tier evaluation system. And level 1 is the facility. So the overall evaluation of the lifeguards as a team and all the facility staff. Now, level 2, this is going to be the main focus of this presentation. And this is actually auditing and evaluating the individual staff. So looking at one lifeguard for their rotation and evaluating them. I do want to give you an idea of what the level 1 facility does look like. And I have to mention a disclaimer here that all photos in this presentation are for demonstration and visual aid purposes only. The sea audits that I discussed in this presentation were not conducted at this location or the location of any facility photographed in this presentation. Confidentiality is always maintained with sea audits, and sea auditors do not take photographs or videos. This is just for a visual aid. But in the level 1 facility, on the left, you see you've got a busy pool from here in Oakville. And on the right is the actual checklist that we'll go through. So here is, we've got May the 6th, and we're at Iroquois Ridge, which is an indoor pool. Time is between 1 and 1:15. We were looking at the staff here. And the weather out there is overcast. We've got a leisure swim going on, and a number of staff on duty. We had 9, but the number of staff on deck just got 7. And then the sea auditor is positioned in the gallery above. Now the visitation parameters are below. You'll notice the scoring system. You can either get a 5 or a 0 in the sea audit scoring system. It's very binary. There's no 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's just a 0 if it wasn't performed to standard, and a 5 if it was performed to standard. So at the level 1 facility, the initial application of the admission standard, they're getting a 5 here. Now this is the lifeguard enforcing it. This is going to be, is the front desk enforcing it? Are they aware of it? Do they have an admission standard? Equipment placement. So is the correct life-saving equipment placed around the deck? Are there ring buoys in the chairs? Are there reaching poles out? Is there a spinal board here? This facility is getting 5 out of 5. Positioning of guards, zones, and rotations. So are they positioned correctly in the zones that they're supposed to be in and rotating correctly? Proper bather and to lifeguard ratio. I can see in the leisure pool here, I actually counted in this picture and I counted exactly 30 people, but they've got 2 guards on the pool, 1 at the bottom of the water slides. They're going a little above and beyond and getting ready for that to hit 31. Showers, shoes, food, and drink. They're getting 5 out of 5 here as well. All those are being enforced. And finally, we look at signage and the health regulations posted and proper signage posted around the facility. So you get a total. They got 40, you multiply that by 2.5, and then you get a score out of 100 to give to the facility. Now I'm going to move into the level 2 audit, and that's the main focus of this presentation, the audit of the individual staff. So this is the first page of the audit form here. You see it's pretty similar, but it starts to go into a little bit more detail. You've got the date, the facility, the time, the weather, the pool activity. But now we're looking at actual descriptions of the lifeguards and where exactly were they located when the auditor was there. The number of staff on duty and the number of staff on deck. And then where was the sea auditor positioned during this time? On the bottom part of that page, I'll actually draw a diagram. And this is going to be, this whole report is going to be sent to the pool supervisor or coordinator, whoever has requested this audit. And this will give them a very good idea of exactly where everybody was during this audit. So now I'll talk about the visitation parameters that we check for lifeguards. And lifeguards are evaluated on 9 items. First one here is the lifeguard application of the admission standard. So now our guards actually enforcing the standard. Do they have a wristband policy? Are they enforcing with arm's reach? Are they doing swim tests? Next is head movement continuous. So is the guard continually moving their head, or are they pausing and stopping? Coverage of zone. So is the lifeguard positioned according to the scanning and zone charts? And are they covering that zone that they're responsible for? Scanning pattern, is it consistent and recognizable? So can I tell they're doing a zigzag pattern or an arcing pattern or a starburst pattern? And is it consistent? You'll notice that the scanning standard is actually out of 10, and that's the only item that's out of 10. And that's that I can scan my zone in no less than 10 seconds and no more than 30 seconds, the 10 to 30 second window. And that's the most important piece. So that's why that's weighted a little more heavily. And as I mentioned before, the scoring sheet, the 0 is not performed at the NL standard, and a 5 is performed at the NL standard. The next item is the lifeguard rescue ready. So are they alert, vigilant, and ready for action? Communication with public and lifeguards. Is their communication with the public brief and professional? What about their communication with other lifeguards? Are they bodyguarding or taking too long talking during rotations? Preventative lifeguarding. So are they enforcing rules and stopping things before they happen? Or are they letting accidents happen? And finally, lifeguarding uniform. For this, you find out ahead of time what exactly shirt or penny they're supposed to wear, their shorts, but also are they wearing the rescue pack, whistle, and do they have the rescue tube? Here's an example of what a completed report looks like. And you can see at the bottom, it says, see pages 6 to 7 for comments. And that's where the sea auditor can write comments on exactly what they saw. And that's extremely important. I want to talk about the sea audit process. So first of all, the organization, which may be a municipality, they request the sea audit. So I'm not just deciding on a Saturday morning when I don't have anything to do that I'm going to grab my sea audit forms and head out to the local pool and audit the staff and see what they've got. It's actually a request directly from the facility to the Life Saving Society or directly to a sea auditor. So that's the first step. Secondly, and this is not complete, but just to give you an idea, the sea auditor will receive a questionnaire from the organization because I know my organization's operational standards and requirements for lifeguards, but I don't know another municipality's exactly. It can differ. So this questionnaire will ask questions for the sea auditor to understand what is a designated lifeguard uniform, what is the deck supervisor's uniform, and this is provided by the organization to the sea auditor. So the sea auditor comes in knowing exactly what they're looking for. They'll even ask, do you require lifeguards to use your chairs? How often are rotations? What type of swim do you want audited? And what are your scanning zones? So now the sea auditor is armed with all this information and can go to the facility, and I go in and evaluate the staff. And it's important to note that it's a secret shopper premise. The staff on duty don't know that I'm there. They don't know that they might know that I'm coming sometime in the next month or two, but they don't know what I look like. So it's a really honest opinion of what's going on. And finally, the sea audit report is sent to the organization, whoever requested it, and it remains confidential. I don't tell people what facility I went to or specific people that I saw. So now, just so you have an understanding of where I am when I go and do these audits, again, all these photos are for demonstration purposes, and sea audits were not conducted at these locations. But the first place you could find me, or your sea auditor, is a lobby view over here on the left. I have a good view of this guard right here, and I can monitor her scanning. Another option, and this is actually my favorite, is an elevated viewing gallery. And I really like this because I have a bird's eye view, and I can also hear everything that's going on. So this is a preferred spot. Now, this is why it's so important to research the facility before you go to conduct a sea audit, because you need to know where you're going to view from. In this case, I have the sea auditor on deck in the spectator viewing gallery. Now, I've had to do that a few times, and I'm not about to sit there with a clipboard and a checklist or a laptop. So what I like to do is take those checklists that I showed you a few moments ago, and I convert them to my cell phone notes. And then I just sit there on the deck, kind of like this guy circled here. And I just look like a dad watching his kids swim, but I'm actually auditing the staff. And as I said, you definitely want to know if there's a viewing gallery before you get there, because if there isn't, then you're going to do what I had to do a few times, which is you have to be in the water swimming and taking part in the swim and then auditing the staff. And that does bring a few more challenges with it. You have to remember everything, but this does give a good perspective. What sea auditors don't do. When I've talked to people about some things I've done, I've had a few questions come by, and I wanted to just address them right now. So sea auditors do not audit facilities without being requested first. Sea auditors do not tell the on-duty staff we're conducting a sea audit. It is a secret shopper. Sea auditors do not break pool rules, so I don't intentionally run on the deck and then dive into the shallow end to see if they'll stop me from doing it. I am just a fly on the wall, casual observer during the audit. Don't discipline staff, so I'm not even speaking to the staff. And even if I saw a safety compliance gap, I'm not walking up to the lifeguard and telling them that. I'm making note of it in the audit. I don't take photographs or videos of the staff. And finally, I have mentioned this before, but sea auditors do not share with others the names of the facilities or staff that were audited. So now I'm going to go into my findings. So here's my sample size. I completed 124 staff across Southern Ontario were audited across 9 different organizations. And the good news is that I wanted to also share is that 81% of the lifeguards that I audited passed all criteria. So that's good news. Now, 19% failed one or more criteria. And that's what I'm going to share in this presentation. Now, there is something I have to go over first before I get into my actual findings. The examples of safety compliance gaps that I'm about to share with all of you are all true. However, the scenarios and images shown in this presentation are reconstructions of actual events, and the identities of the facilities and staff members have been kept confidential to maintain their anonymity. Images of facilities depicted are not actual audit locations with safety compliance gaps. And any lifeguards shown are either volunteer members of my own staff, AI generated, or sourced from publicly available online material. Now, although these scenes are reconstructed, they do accurately represent the safety compliance gaps and the observations that I personally witnessed during my audits in Ontario. So everything I'm saying is true and what I actually did see firsthand. I've just changed the way the facilities look and a few other insignificant details to protect the innocent. Now, the first thing I want to do is talk about the style that I'm going to take. So I'm going to show you exactly what I'm looking for as a C auditor. And then I'm going to show you exactly what I saw. And then finally, I'll give recommendations to prevent those safety compliance gaps from happening at your facility. So my first finding is in regards to positioning and zones. So here's the checklist. Coverage of zones, a 0 would be failure to cover entire area of designated zone. And a 5 would be cover the entire zone coordinated with all other lifeguard and bather activities. So now I'm going to get into my first example. First pool we're going to visit is a 6-lane, 25-meter indoor pool. I think most communities have one of these. And the view that you see is from the lifeguard chair. There are 2 lifeguard chairs here on the same side of the pool. The second one on the left is just out of view, but this is the main guard's position. Secondly, I'm going to introduce to you the scanning and zone chart that was given to me by the organization beforehand. So I understand now that the guard should be in this chair and they are responsible for the entire pool, this pink area. I also see their rotation pattern. Next, I'm going to reference the questionnaire I talked about. And this is why that questionnaire is so important. So question number 5 on there was, do you require lifeguards to use your designated lifeguard chairs / towers? And this organization said no, but if off the chair, the lifeguard should be stationed directly beside the chair. Okay, so I look at the zone chart and I see they should be sitting in the chair. And if they're off the chair, they should be standing right beside it. So what did I find? If you keep your eye on the left on the scanning and zone chart, I'm going to bring in the diagram that I drew. And here you can see lifeguard 1 standing out of position. You can see the 2 lifeguard chairs on the other side of the pool and 21 swimmers in the pool. We've got a deck supervisor in the office and lifeguard 2 in the office. And if you're looking for me, I am right there in the viewing gallery. And please note, this C auditor picture is not to scale, but from here, I have a good view of everything on deck, holding my cell phone, going through the checklist. So there's a reason at this facility why both lifeguard chairs are on the same side of the pool. So right now they're getting a 0 out of 5 for coverage of zones. I'm going to just move my C auditor diagram to the left side of the screen here. And I'm going to give that reminder that if off the chair, the guard should be stationed directly beside the chair. And I want to show you what that guard was now seeing when they were out of position. So you can see lifeguard 1 from their new perspective across the pool. There's a significant amount of glare coming from that bay of windows over there. The blinds aren't down. And this is why on that scanning and zone chart, the facility supervisor has decided they need to be on the opposite side of the pool. So this is where they were choosing to stand. I'm going to bring back the ideal scenario, lifeguard 1 perspective, properly positioned. And I'll do a side-by-side to see the difference. Question is, where would you want to guard this pool from? Where do you want your staff to guard this pool from? And on Sunday night, when the pool manager's at home and the staff are there and the sun is still out, where are the staff guarding from? And that's the benefit of C audits. You get to see what's happening when you're not there. Move into the second finding of mine, also on positioning and zones. So our next location is an outdoor pool, 6 lanes, 25 meters. And at this location, the questionnaire and zone chart told me that lifeguard 1 can be walking, patrolling, standing at the edge of the pool, and they can go anywhere around the pool that they want as long as they feel suitable, that they can see the bottom. Or they could use the lifeguard chair that's across the pool. So that's all fine. And when we started, everything was fine. Everything in this picture is okay. And they are where they should be. But what happened was this. So time 1:15 to 1:30, 15 swimmers in the pool, location, started rotation, standing at the edge. But what happened was this. So sea auditor comments, lifeguard 1 started her rotation in a standing position and had adequate visibility of the pool bottom. However, at 1:16 p.m., so 1 minute into the rotation, a male lifeguard came out of the office and set up a folding chair for her. Now lifeguard 1, unable to see the entire pool bottom for 14 minutes, which was the remainder of her rotation. And I definitely could tell because in this one, I was in the water swimming and I'd swim in front of her and swim down to the bottom, look up with my goggles, and I could see her completely out of view. I did a reconstruction. This is me at one of the outdoor pools in Oakville, a reconstruction of events. So I took a folding chair and backed up a few feet and put it down and sat similar to where she would be sitting. And I can see that the lane line is hidden because this is a 6-lane pool and I can only see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lanes. So a lifeguard should not be sitting anywhere other than a lifeguard chair. I'm going to move to the other side of the pool. You can see a lifeguard chair on the other side. I'm going to move over there. And I tried to get a side-by-side shot, a folding deck chair, lane line hidden, can only count 5 lanes. And on the right, that view from the lifeguard chair, full view. So positioning is extremely important. You can't say what you can't see. I also wanted to talk a little more of the importance of positioning. This is me standing on the deck at my indoor pool here in Oakville. And if you take a look, you'll see my feet there, close to that 3.00 meter sign. And I'm standing just a little bit back from the deck, from the pool edge. As I take a step forward and stand at the edge of the pool where guards should be guarding from, you'll now see these 2 sinking silhouettes, an orange mannequin, become visible at the bottom. And I want to clarify that these 2 pictures were taken 10 seconds apart and there's no camera tricks here. I just held the phone by my face and showed you via pictures exactly what I saw. And I like to do this at my staff orientation, bring all the staff out onto the deck, have 50 people and split them into smaller groups and bring 10 at a time out and have everyone stand in this position here and say, do you see anything in the pool? No, we don't. And then tell everyone to take 1 big step forward and look down. And that will stick with them because when someone showed me that, that's always stuck with me, that standing guards and stationary guards should be at the edge of the pool. I'm going to move now into my final example for positioning in zones. So with this pool, there is a smaller leisure pool that requires 2 guards and a 6-lane lap pool that only requires 1 guard. Now, why does the leisure pool need 2? And the lap pool only needs 1 if you have 30 bathers in there? The reason for that is because there is a bench. This isn't the exact bench. It's just an idea of what it looks like. But that bench creates a blind spot. So when I received the zone charts from the organization, they said at all times, even if there's 0 or 1 person in that pool, if it's open, there have to be 2 lifeguards on there. So I said, okay. So now I'm going to show you what I found when I came in. So I'm going to move that zone chart over to the left here, so you can keep an eye on that for what we're supposed to see. And now I'm going to bring in what I found when I got there. So I'll start by saying I'm watching this from the elevated viewing gallery and everything about the lap pool is fine. So let's just not even worry about that right now. But the main problem occurred at the leisure pool. I noticed that there's 1 lifeguard stationed on that when there should be 2. The other lifeguard that should have been there was in the office along with lifeguard 4, lifeguard 5, and the deck supervisor. Sea auditor's comments, only 1 lifeguard stationed on leisure pool from 2:30 to 2:41 p.m. Scanning and zone charts indicate 2 lifeguards are always required for the leisure pool due to the blind spot. Lifeguards out of position failed to cover zone and blind spot for 11 minutes. And I could see from my vantage point there that that guard could not see that behind that bench. And they weren't patrolling, they were in a stationary position. This is a common finding. So what can we do about it? Well, I'm not going to give a lecture now on scanning and zone charts. That's a whole nother presentation. But if I can reference you to lifesaving.ca, our national website, there's general safety standards there, and in particular, the lifeguard safety supervision zone standard. And this helped me greatly in creating zone charts at my facility. Now, it's a few pages long, and I'm not going to read through every single line, but what I've tried to do is take, copy and paste the most important parts of it out that relate to the safety compliance gaps that I found. So for positioning, you're supposed to determine the best position for lifeguard staff to safely supervise the pool, deck, and access points. So a zone chart should be created. And also, the chart should be created for various bather loads. These are two from my facility, 0 to 30, only one, and then 151 to 194, we need 4, and things change. So that should be depicted in pictures. Obviously, there's 2 more charts in between, but I didn't want to overwhelm your eyes here. Rotation. So include rotation patterns lifeguards are to use when transferring from one station to another. Here's mine. Sometimes the zone chart's a little busy, so I have a separate page, separate chart beside it that shows the rotation. But if you have maybe more of a simpler facility, like I do with one of my outdoor pools, you could put the rotation on there as well. Revisit the charts annually. Remember, this isn't my opinion. This is verbatim from that scanning and zone chart standard. Staff training. Zone charts should be reviewed at staff orientation and reviewed at staff trainings. Here's a picture of me in our lifeguard chair in lifeguard position number 1. And this is what we do at our orientation. I print out a number of these charts and give them to the staff, and we all go into these positions. You see the 2 lifeguards in the chair now, and looking at what would your position be in this situation. So they truly understand where they're supposed to be and the importance of it. In this picture in particular, you can see the zone is up to the drop-off point. And I emphasize the reason why, because when you look past that, you can see the glare on the water down here. So that's why this is your intensive zone. And the location. The standard tells me to post these in clear view of all facility staff. So here they are on the wall. And the standard tells me staff should review and confirm the zones in use at the start of each shift. So here I have the guard packs on the wall with the guard pack checklist. They can put on their pack, turn, look at the zones, and then go out for their shift. Scanning will be my next finding. I'm going to show you a video here. This is a lifeguard on a lazy river, and you can observe her scanning. We're looking for continuous head movement. She's got that. Scanning pattern consistent, yes. Sweeping the bottom, obvious head movement, and I can see a zigzag pattern occurring. And then scanning her zone in more than 10 seconds and less than 30 seconds. So she's meeting that scanning window as well. This is what we're looking for. This is the only interactive part of the presentation, but this is your turn to be the C auditor, and I can tell you how I get times for people. So grab your cell phone if you have it, and if you can pull out the stopwatch, I'm going to play this video of this guard and see if you can get a time for his scan. And also, I want you to evaluate his head movement and his scanning pattern. So I'm going to start it in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so what did you give him? I gave him a 5, good movement, rarely pausing, never pausing. Scanning pattern was consistent, and I got 27 seconds for his scan. And that's what I'll do to get that scanning standard and actually write it down on the checklist for the pool supervisor to see afterwards. How long were their scans? Now I'd like to get into my findings. I'm going to play another video sourced from YouTube. This lifeguard is the only lifeguard at the bottom of the water slide, and this pool, people are swimming in it too. Head movement, I don't see head movement. Limited or no head movement, and he's definitely staring and pausing. Scanning pattern, I don't actually see one. And the scanning standard, I've tried watching this video a few times to get a time for his scans, but I can't. In the field, if I'm having trouble getting a time for scanning, what I'll do is move myself to the corner of the pool and I'll time how long it takes for the lifeguard to look at me. And I remember one time it was over 3 minutes. If you're in a pool, you can look at the pace clock if you need to get a time, or you can have a watch on you. But when I saw a breakdown of scanning, it wasn't just one thing. It wasn't like, okay, he's not moving his head continuously, but he has a consistent scanning pattern and he's meeting the standard. It was kind of an all or nothing. So this is what I would see. Next scanning finding is intrusion of non-lifeguard duties. It shows how the RID factor comes into play. So we've seen the failure to recognize. Now we're looking at the intrusion of non-lifeguard duties. So in this case, you can see lifeguard 1 watching a 6-lane wide pool split into 3 lanes. It's a lap swim in progress. I am in the water swimming. I am in the slow lane. At this point in time, everything is to standard. She's scanning effectively, continuous head movement, recognizable scanning pattern, scanning standard met. Everything was fine. The real issue came when I actually entered the deck. So I want to rewind to when I first walked out onto the deck. If you look at the sea auditor's diagram there, you'll see what happened. So when I came out on deck out of the male change room, she abandoned her position guarding the pool and came over to me and put her rescue tube down and picked up a clipboard, turned her back to the pool, and then she greeted me. She made sure I was registered for the swim, asked me what lane I'd feel comfortable in, reviewed some pool rules with me. And at this time, nobody's watching the pool. And I remember thinking, this is really good customer service. This woman is very pleasant, but we need to end this conversation now because no one's watching the pool. So I gently entered the conversation and I walked past the pool office as I was going to my lane, and I noticed a sign there that said, please check in with staff at pool office for attendance. And as I walked by that office, I did look in and I saw lifeguard number 2, and she was on a yoga mat in, I believe that's child's pose, and she was stretching. And I realized at that point in time, lifeguard number 1 is doing double duty, guarding the pool and attendance. And we know that a lifeguard on the pool should only be guarding the pool. And after she greeted people, she'd go back to her position. Along the same lines here on this diagram, I'm sitting in the hallway. I'm watching lifeguard 1, deck supervisor in the office, lifeguard in the office, about 16 swimmers in the pool, and everything is fine and to standard at this point. However, auditor comments, lifeguard number 1, you see him taking tickets there. So every time a swimmer would come out of the change room, they had a ticket and they would hand it to him. And then he would take that, put it in his pocket, divert his attention to the pool, and eventually he would go back to scanning. As I continued to watch him, you may see my comments are continued here. At a certain point in time, he lost track of the count of tickets and the bathers in the zone, and he spent 33 seconds, because I timed him, recounting his tickets without looking at the pool. And then, unbeknownst to him, he did make a miscalculation, because then there were 31 swimmers in the pool, and he had an illegal bather load. And he didn't notice this for the remainder of his rotation and continued with 31 swimmers in the pool. And we know, according to regulation 565, if we're over 30, so 31, we need to put a second guard on. That was another common finding of mine, the legal bather to lifeguard ratios. And it would usually happen around that 30 mark. There'd be 32 or 33 people in the pool, and they wouldn't notice that. Sometimes the next guard that came on to the rotation would notice it and call out. So what can we do about this? I'll refer you to the Ontario website, the Aquatic Safety Standards, and specifically under staff training, it says that scanning should be reviewed in rotations. Here's something that we've done in Oakville last summer. What we did, and I think we should do, is lifeguards and deck supervisors can review at staff training, see evaluation criteria at staff trainings. And this helps improve the understanding of expectations for themselves and fellow staff. So you can see we had this set up for last summer. We actually are using the videos from the Sea Auditor course, and we have a pass and a fail, and we have them give a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and then we watch the video and see what they think so they can actually see what they should be doing when they're guarding. We talk about rescue ready. I should play another video from the Sea Auditor course. I'll have them do the scanning standard like we did. That video is not from the Sea Auditor course, but you can take different videos that'll help your staff. My next finding is going to be uniform. Actually, it's my final finding. So with the uniform, either they're not in the designated uniform or inadequate choice of aid, or they're in the uniform, readily identifiable, including effective choice of rescue aid and whistle. And this gentleman watching the pool right now, I see he's got the correct shirt on, the shorts, the tube, the pack, and I think that's a whistle around his neck. I'd have to get a different view. Yep, he's got it. So he's in uniform. Get into my findings now. So if I look at this guard, is he in uniform? I actually don't know because I need to review the questionnaire from that organization. So on the questionnaire, please answer the following questions to help your Sea Auditor best evaluate your staff. What is a designated lifeguard? In this case, we're doing lifeguards, lifeguard uniform. Well, he should be wearing the identified tank top. So I'm going to give him a check here. He should have plain black shorts or plain black athletic pants. Check. One-piece bathing suit for female staff, not applicable. Please list the personal equipment lifeguards are required to have on their person when lifeguarding. Example, rescue can. So this organization said first aid waist pack. That's what's missing. Stocked with gloves and mask. Rescue tube, he has it. And whistle, I see one on his arm, on his right arm. And I see, it looks like a breakaway whistle around his neck too. I think I'm going to give him 2 check marks for that one. But the problem here is the first aid waist pack. He's not wearing it. And they specifically said that he has to be wearing it on his person. Now, I'm not going to get into a debate. There are some organizations that say it's okay if it's in the chair, but most places I went said it's required, their first aid pack is required to be on their person. And I did see a number of packs hanging in chairs at organizations that said it has to be on their person. Now, I'm not going to lie. The first time I heard on your person, I didn't know what that meant. I wasn't sure. Does that mean I can reach it or it's at my feet? What does that mean? So I went to the one place I always go when I don't know what something means. I went to the dictionary, and the Merriam-Webster dictionary said on your person means something is being carried by someone, either in their pockets or attached to their body. So then I understand that if it's on their person, they have to be wearing it. You can see this guard diving in, ready to go with their pack. We know how important that first breath is in a grounding situation. Continuing with uniform findings, you can see the guard here in the chair. We're going to look at their questionnaire. Please answer the following to help your Sea Auditor best evaluate your staff. This organization's uniform standard. They said, when lifeguarding outdoors, staff are advised to wear the following items in addition to the standard uniform when appropriate to the weather conditions. Sunglasses, polarized lenses, and she's not wearing them. A town-issued hat, not wearing it. And waterproof sunscreen, I don't really evaluate that. There's no umbrella either. So what should we be doing? There is a vision standard. And once again, I'll draw your attention to the Ontario website and specifically the vision standard for lifeguards and instructors, which I'm going to pull up, but I'm not going to read every word of it. I'm going to focus on what's important from what I found at the outdoor pools, and says that sunglasses should be worn when lifeguarding or instructing outdoors. And they have recommended attributes, including polarized lenses that block reflective light. And it says sunglasses should not be worn indoors or after dark. You would think that goes without saying, but it probably means that somebody did it. This is the difference, the polarized difference. And when I'm out on the water myself, windsurfing, I'm always wearing polarized sunglasses so I can see under the water and I can make sure I don't smash into an underwater rock or a floating bomb. It makes an incredible difference for cutting out the glare, and lifeguards should be wearing them. This is a finding that I kind of realized afterwards, after looking at everything, the final finding. Looking back at what I've shared with you, if you remember the situation where the lifeguard was counting tickets, and had an illegal lifeguard to bather ratio, the deck supervisor was in the office for his entire rotation and a significant amount of time that I was there. Another example that I brought up is lifeguard 1 and 2 out of position. If you remember the leisure pool with the bench, where was the deck supervisor for that entire time? In the office, talking to other staff on their phone, and I could see all that from my vantage point. The other one, when I was in the pool swimming, and the lifeguard was sitting in the folding chair about 6 feet back from the edge without a view of the bottom, once again, the deck supervisor was in the office. And the vast majority of my observations of safety compliance gaps, the deck supervisor was not actively supervising the staff and was in the office. So deck supervisors should be doing regular deck checks. We know that the lifeguards are watching the bathers, but the question is, who is watching the lifeguards? So they should be out there doing regular deck checks. And a quote by Jim Wheeler that stuck with me is, "Nobody ever drowned in the office." So I should, as a deck supervisor, I shouldn't be in the office my whole shift. I should be out there actively supervising. Our deck supervisors should be ensuring that zone positioning is being adhered to. They should be monitoring lifeguard scanning and understand that, what they're looking for. These sea audit checklists help with that. They should be actively supervising the staff, and they should be the example in the way, because they will be guarding too. The way that they guard, the uniform that they wear, and that's one of my staff there, who I thought was a great example of a deck supervisor who meets all these standards. I wanted to take that picture of him and give you my summary now. So in summary, I audited 124 staff across Ontario, 81% passed all criteria, and 19% failed one or more. My top 5 findings were: number 1 was failure to scan effectively. This was the most common issue that I came across. And when it wasn't done effectively, it was every criteria typically. Improper positioning and coverage of zones. I remember the first audit I did, I ran into this, and I had the zone charts with me, and I came in and I looked at the staff and I looked at the zone charts and I thought, I'm at the wrong pool here. This can't be right. And I realized, no, they're just in the wrong position. But after a number of audits, I realized, here we go again when I'd see it, because it would happen more frequently than I imagined it would. And these are well-run organizations. Illegal bather to lifeguard ratio. So one guard watching too many people. Lifeguard not in uniform. And yes, maybe sometimes they wouldn't be wearing the right colored shorts, or but it was more a critical piece of the uniform was missing. The rescue pack whistle was the next most popular one. Deck supervisor not actively supervising the staff. And that was my final finding that I kind of realized after I looked at all my results. So what can we do about this? I recommend you get certified. The Sea Auditor course, the prerequisite, you have to be a national lifeguard with 100 hours of experience, or if you're a national lifeguard examiner, or if you're an aquatic supervisor, or, and I like this one, if you're an aquatic manager, because there are probably the aquatic manager course, you don't have to have an aquatic background or experience to take that course. And there may be some managers out there that are responsible for a facility that has a gym, a basketball court, and a pool, and they don't have any experience there. So they could take the aquatic manager course and then take the sea auditor course, and then they know what those instructors and lifeguards are supposed to be doing. Instructional format, time, and currency. It's in person, it's blended, or it's online. I did my course online. It's a 4-hour course. It's amazing how much information is packed into that 4 hours. And that award is current for 2 years and worth an optional point. How do you request a sea audit? If you get a comprehensive aquatic safety audit, sea audits are requested or included if requested. You can hire a sea auditor yourself. I know one organization that has their leadership instructors that already contracted them, and they request that they come in and do sea audits of their staff. You can audit your own staff. You can reach out to colleagues, volunteer, because at the end of the day, it's a community-based program to make things better. That is my final slide. And I wanted to thank everyone for listening to me and letting me present. And I hope that what I've shared with you will help you at your facility. And I also wanted to say once again that the facilities that I went to were very well-run facilities, and I did observe these safety compliance steps. And taking this course and doing the audits and getting the experience has helped me greatly as an aquatic coordinator.